Time to talk some NBA.
Celtics lost? How? What? To another one of these chump teams? 20? The Pistons? Is this 1989? This is 2025? In a real game? Okay.
Oh, the Pistons are so far improved from last year.
They really are. I mean, when you win 6 games last year and you're already up to 33, that is a pretty decent improvement.
Playoff team this year.
Yeah, they are. Not a play-in team either. Not one of them chump 7 through 10s. A real playoff team. They're in the 6th spot, and they've been there with all those other chumps just being a bunch of chumps. Magic, Heat, Hawks, Bulls, looking at you.
And the Pistons are hot. Malik Beasley, 26 points. Cade Cunningham, 21 points.
Cade Cunningham's been playing great basketball this year. Jaylen Brown out. Now, Jaylen Brown got a knee to the thigh against Toronto.
Oh, we got a Charlie horse.
That's what we used to call it back in the day. I don't know. I was out for maybe a game and then back in for the next run.
We used to tease each other, punch each other in the thigh, and go, "Who won the Kentucky Derby?" Charlie horse.
Oh God, classic.
Can't play, I guess, in the NBA with one of those.
You had a lot of brothers growing up.
Yes,
yeah. But yeah, 117-97 last night as the Celtics go down in Detroit. Jason Tatum came to play. He finished with 27 points. But yeah, Michael Beasley, of all people, putting numbers up. Crazy to see. New York, though, they got a win against Philadelphia. A little too close for comfort. Needed 34 from Jalen Brunson to get it done. Brooklyn, however, they keep on losing. They did score over 100 points. Their offense has been sucking in the last couple of weeks, but their offense has kind of been sucking since KD left. But the association somewhat heating up. I know in 30 days it will be more crucial to look at the standings right now, but the Cleveland Cavaliers way ahead of everybody else as they have left off. 6.5 up now on Boston? Question to you is, does Boston need home court advantage to make it back to the NBA final?
You would like home court advantage, but no, I don't believe that they need that. They're a very good away team as well. They're 24-7 on the road. They're actually 18-10 at home.
Yeah.
So
nice look. I didn't know that.
I think maybe they like sleeping in the Four Seasons and the whatever 5-star accommodations that they're getting. But no, listen, this is a good team. You need Jaylen Brown back. I mean, the Charlie Horses won game, but everybody wants to beat them too. They're the champs. You know, you look at their ring, you're like, I want one of those. And some of these players now are in a situation in Detroit where they weren't as bad as they were. They were terrible last year. You know, and so when you look at where they are now, they're right in the top 6. They're in the thick of things. They're one of the hottest teams in basketball. 8-game winning streak. No, I think that's just one of those games where the Celtics, they're on to the next game, and they're trying to finish out the schedule.
That's like what Missoula does now. He is so Belichick. On to the next game. On to Cincinnati, or whatever it was. On to Cincinnati. You ask him about details of the game, and he's got those eyes, dude. Never blinks, like stares at you. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
Well, he's a very spiritual guy, and he's not going to let you get into his head with a question, so you don't even ask them those questions anymore. Exactly.
Don't ask. Nope.
So, not going there.
Don't go there. No, played well. We lost. You guys lost to Detroit. It's the first loss that you've had on the road to Detroit in 7 years. Yeah.
It's great.
Yep, that is.
It's great. You got any other stats you want to throw out as stat boy?
He doesn't say that.
But I would. Listen.
Stat boy. Okay. All right, let's go to college and press conferences. What did Dan Hurley say last night in the press conference about...
I'm going to have to paraphrase this, though.
Okay.
But, so somebody threw at him, did you do better against the press tonight?
How was it dealing with the press?
How was it dealing with the press tonight?
Right.
And he said, well, they've treated me like, an a-hole all year. I had to say that, without getting myself in trouble. And he's like, oh, no, you meant on the court?
Yeah, that court press,
so like
not the press, not the media.
He was being coy in Dan Hurley's way. He is.
He knew what he was doing.
He can freak out with the best of them on the court and then come back and be like, yeah, you're talking about how the press has treated me all year. Yeah,
I totally agree with that.
He is especially so monotone, so serene, and I love it because my wife's like, why does he do that? And I'm like, he does that to show them that he's way more passionate about coaching these kids, winning championships, than having to sit there and answer these questions, because I think it's brilliant. It's like Belichick in a way, where Belichick would just stand up there and be like, okay, and it really wouldn't get excited one way or another about any particular question. Like, oh my God, that's a great question. Yeah, let me answer your question better than I did his question or her question. I think the way Dan Hurley carries himself is way beyond his years of wisdom. And I think that it's also showing his young men that, listen, you can care about something crazy on the court, but you can also be a really humble, and this is like Missoula, a very humble human being off the court. You don't have to be a total a-hole in some sense to the media. You can just sit there and be professional and stand up there and do what you're supposed to do, which is why I think that you know, like David Benedict in the University of Connecticut can trust him, that he's not going to lose his mind. Like I used to love Bobby Knight. What are you talking about, my game face? And he, do all these gyrations and go crazy in front of the media. And I'm sure that the administration of Indiana was like, oh, God, please don't say anything to embarrass us.
Great interview.
Yeah, but he was a great interviewer, interviewee.
Right.
And so I just think that, listen, I love Hurley. I love a lot of these college coaches where you're not going to ruffle my feathers, whether we win or we lose. I've got a job to do here, but I'd much rather be doing that. Like Nick Saban. I think Nick is great doing the Saturday stuff.
That's a good comparison right there. Because, just talking to these guys, and Hurley in particular, when I've gotten the chance to talk to Hurley and about basketball, there's some things where I might tiptoe around because I'm like, it's not been going so well in this. And he's so open to talk about it. And it's almost like, why was I so afraid to ask? Like, the dude is just so cool. Like, yeah, we lost that game, man. Oh, well, it just wasn't going for us that night. And, like, when I was watching, dude, you were going crazy. You're mad at the refs. You're mad at your team. And, like, where was that guy? That guy was left back on the court. Ooh, sorry, I get excited.
You're getting excited.
This is my Hurley mode. But he left that stuff back on the court, and he doesn't carry that with him when he's, outside of those settings. He's a completely different animal. Crazy things in the Big East last night. So right before the show ended, I was, put my Benny in the Bets hat on. I was yelling at you guys, we're favored by 14.5. Go run up to Massachusetts.
How did Vegas know this stuff?
And then the game was happening,
14.
and we were at the clubhouse, and I was like, we need to go bet on those points.
We're down 14. They had this the wrong way at one point. Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
how'd the game end? 93-79, right at 14. I also remember telling you guys, man, Butler's only getting 6.5 against St. John's. Man, I dumped those points against St. John's. 76-70 final.
How insane is that?
That's crazy. That was right on the number on both of those two.
Butler, not a great team, but not a bad team. That's
right. Yeah,
anybody
right.
in the Big East.
At home, too.
Yeah. I mean, I was wrong about Ole Miss, by the way. I apologize.
You were wrong about Ole Miss.
My own
that
nonsense.
was your upset special.
That's because I like Papelbon and I love Ole Miss, and I'm like,
what was that final? I don't even know.
106-76.
Damn.
They were getting punched in the throat early, badly, and they actually came back, made it 50-40 at halftime. I was like, it could have been like 50-20 at halftime.
The other two games in the Big East, Villanova keeps winning, man. They're 17-12 now, staving off the bubble as much as possible. They beat Seton Hall 59-54. Creighton, no problem with DePaul. DePaul just kept hanging around, 75-65. The final there is Kalkbrenner put in 25 of those 75 points. A third of the team's points there in Creighton. I think
he's such a good down-low guy, but he gets sucked into trying to shoot threes.
Do you think it's an NBA prospect?
Absolutely.
Like he's trying to impress? Yeah, a little bit.
I don't think he's trying to impress, but I think he's trying to show his versatility.
And Donovan did that a little bit last year.
And I think Alex has been back and forth with that. I think Alex Karaban, listen, Alex is one of the best I've ever seen taking it to the hole. But a lot of times I'll see him grab a ball and take a three, and it'll go in and out, and I don't know what, I don't care if it goes in or out. What my point is sometimes there's an open lane, take the two. But listen, we always hear, hey, we'd much rather have threes than twos. And, listen, winning basketball games, it matters a lot as well.
Everybody's playing on Saturday in the Big East. Just looking at the conference right now, 2.5 back. That's Creighton from St. John's, the top of the pile, really representing the Big East well, carrying the torch at number 7 in the nation. The only other top 25 is the third spot, Marquette at 21. They are 3.5 out from first place in St. John's. They cannot catch them. I think they only have 3 games left. We definitely can't catch the top spot. St. John's has beat us both times, and 4.5 for UConn back from St. John's. They're in the 4 spot. Right now, it is shaping up for UConn versus either Xavier or Georgetown in that first game of the Big East. Lots can happen. Still 3 games left. But without Sorber, I think Georgetown is not a contender anymore.
No.
With losing that big man, seeing that last night, not a contender. Especially
either one of those big men, if it's a true, like against Kolkbrenner or even the kid that's on St. John's, I mean, that some of these teams have some vicious big men that can shoot threes and dominate down the paint.
I can see Seton Hall possibly making an upset. I could see Butler possibly making an upset. I can't see it for Providence DePaul. Prove me wrong on Saturday, Providence. Maybe you can. But I do believe Nova, Xavier, UConn, Marquette, Creighton, and St. John's can all win the Big East tournament in Madison Square Garden.
Agreed. Listen, the Big East is a monster. It's not maybe the monster it was last year. Some of those guys went on to the NBA, but it's still one of the toughest conferences out there.
I'm wondering that just in branding and perception of things. Like the SEC, we've been talking about all year and how many ranked teams are in that conference. But is it a thing where, you're kind of, when you're number 1 and you lose to number 5, you're not going to drop that much. And if you keep on losing to top 25s or beating top 25s, if they're in your conference, you're kind of going to keep those numbers where they're at. I don't know. I'm just thinking that might be some fool's gold rankings for the SEC teams. And the Big East bunch, as tough as we know they are, and yeah, they've lost some stars, but we still got some great stars in this league, great coaches. Yeah. These teams might be better than advertised.
I'll get Dockett, John. We'll talk. I want to talk Big Ten. They've got 5 teams in the top 25. Michigan State continues to dominate. Tom Izzo is just an amazing coach that we don't really talk about that much, and he's still,
as far as like the legendary guys, right,
that are still around.
Right.
I mean, a guy that's been around for so many decades. It's just incredible. Michigan's got a new coach. He's doing great. They're 21-6 overall. Wisconsin, always tough. Purdue, Maryland. I mean, Maryland now is in a position now to shock a lot of people. So I think that's interesting as well. So some of these teams that weren't great last year all of a sudden got some but the transfer portal for me has leveled the playing field in every sport. I don't care if it's football, basketball. It's amazing that how some of these teams that were horrible last year, they come up with some extra NIL money. Bam, we can actually compete with some of these big dogs and turn things right around.
Even for the smaller schools, I got to give a shout out to our other Connecticut friends that are kicking butt this year in their conferences. CCSU, ICU, 12-2 in the NEC. They're 21-6, dude. They're 21-6. Now it's a one-bid league.
A few years ago.
Horrible. Like, don't even show up to see this pile of garbage. Now, people are going to New Britain to watch basketball games. CCSU should win Northeastern Conference and be a representative for that in the dance. How about our Yale friends, undefeated in Ivy League play? Looking real good, Bulldogs, 18-6 overall. And don't look now, Nick Federico. I know you like your Quinnipiac Bobcat hockey, but 13-3 in the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference, what we call the MAC, longer MAC. They are tied with Marist for the top spot in the MAC, 17-10 overall. QU could get
Patrick Sellers, congratulations, dude. I mean, 8-24 his first year, 10-22.
Oh, CCSU's guy, yeah.
20-11, 21-6 this year. I mean,
yeah.
Way to turn the program around, dude.
Dude, and that is fighting a war with a slingshot versus a bunch of machine guns.
David and Goliath, yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm rooting CCSU to get in and possibly win some games in the tournament.
All right, let's talk. The NFL has a salary cap that is ridiculous right now, and can the Cincinnati Bengals hold on to some of their stars? Mike Petraglia will talk about some NFL next, maybe a little bit about the Cincinnati Reds or some of those Midwestern teams that he covers. Mike Petraglia from CLNS Media out to Cincinnati and the Ohio way. He will join us next on the Rob Dibble Show with Ben Darnell.